Alright everybody, welcome back for part 2 of Dungeons & Dragons Icewind Dale Rime of the Frostmaiden. So in the first part, we just got an introduction basically to the scene of what is going on with everything in this region. So part 2, here's the 10 towns. For part 2, we'll begin our look at the 10 towns where the adventure begins. Where the party starts can be determined by the roll of a die or picked by the DM. Town 1 is Bremen. This town was founded by dwarven prospectors many years ago. The harbor is frozen, so boats must be hauled over the ice just to get to the lake. The population is only 150, and there are only a few buildings which may be of interest. There is an inn called Buried Treasure, and 5 taverns are arranged here in a circle. The quest called Lake Monster can be picked up here. Remember, in each one of these 10 towns, there are often 1 or 2 quests which can be started if the players want. So the quest called Lake Monster can be picked up at this town. Shortly after arrival, someone they speak with will tell them of a monster sinking fishing boats. If the characters search for the monster, they'll discover an awakened plesiosaurus. A druid recently used an awakened spell to give the beast an intelligence of 10 and has instructed it to attack the boats. We're going to see in other towns something similar has been done too. The players can quickly gain access to a fishing boat and venture out onto the lake to look for this attacking beast. A die roll can be made for every hour spent on the lake, and eventually the beast will arrive. The players can speak to the plesiosaurus, but it doesn't give indication that it can do so unless spoken to first. He will explain that a druid gave him his gift of intelligence, and he doesn't want to be a stupid beast again, so he must do as the druid told him to. If the plesiosaurus is attacked, it dies below the water, and if dropped below half hit points, it leaves combat. The animal doesn't have to be killed to complete all of this quest here, but the fishermen who let them use the boat will pay for any fish the players have caught while out on the lake, and an elf they would have met earlier will pay for information on the beast. Now, Town 2 is Bryn Shander. This is one of the better towns to make as a first stop for the party. There's a high wall around it, so it's well protected. There's lanterns on the streets at night and day, of course, since it's always dark, making it the safest of the towns. The population is around 1,500, one of the larger towns, so it's quite larger than most. The party members can find a smithy, an outfitter, an inn, a tavern, and more. The quest Foaming Mugs can be picked up in this town. The group can learn of a group of dwarves who had to abandon a sled full of iron ingots that they were bringing here. The dwarves asked the party to retrieve the sled in exchange for payment, of course. The party can search for the sled, and they will eventually find the remains of a half-eaten dwarf and sled marks leading away. The group will soon find goblins with a large wagon pulled by 2 polar bears. If the ingots are returned to the dwarves, they will be paid as promised. Town 3 is Caradenaval. The ferry to this town has been discontinued, so the land route is the only one available. A small fortress is the prominent building in this tiny town of 100 and can be seen before anything else here. The clifftop fortress, known as, I guess it's pronounced Care or Sare, is famous in this area. Not much to see here. There is a closed inn and a tavern, but not much else of interest in this village. The quest Black Swords can be found here. This quest will begin if the players look for a place to rest and decide to use the clifftop fortress. It has been taken over by cultists calling themselves the Knights of the Black Sword. They have the town leader here held hostage and have been making reports that he was sick, and that is why no one has seen him. These cultists worship Levistus, an archdevil who rules the 6th level of the 9 hells, and he's told them of the nearby Durgar. They have been told to forge an alliance with anyone who would help them oppose the Durgar. If the party visits them in the fortress, they will pretend to be staff and send them away. If the party has taken certain actions at other times against the Durgar, the cultist will be told to form an alliance. Their devil leader will tell them this. A map of the fortress is provided, and the party may engage in combat here or find a safe place to stay. It all depends on what they do. Now we have Town 4, Serkoenig. This lakeside town was started as a camp and has grown to a village of 150. There are terraced rows of houses leading up from the docks, giving the appearance of an amphitheater. People barely survive off of what they catch from the lake, and a few break-ins have occurred lately. Dwarven boot tracks leading off to the north are the only clue as to who it was. The only thing that keeps people here is the beer at the local tavern. The party can find a tavern, outfitter, and an inn in working order. The quest named The Unseen can be picked up here. The dwarves responsible for the break-ins are Invisible Durgar looking for the Chardalyn crystal to build their dragon. To get the quest, the party will encounter a heavy-drinking dragonborn who patrols the streets at night. The dragonborn will tell them of stolen items, and one was a magic lantern outside of the local inn. He leads them to the inn, and the sister owners offer food and lodging to the party. If they can catch the thieves, that is. If the party accepts, they'll find footprints in the snow to follow. The tracks will lead to a Durgar outpost. Guards are always watching the approach to the outpost, so the party is likely to be seen. A map of the small outpost is provided to the DM. There are only a few Durgar here. If the party reports back to the inn about the Durgar outpost or return the stolen lantern, they'll get food and lodging. Then we have Town 5. Dugans Hole. Here we have a map of it. This town is the smallest and rudest of them all. The 50 or so inhabitants don't like visitors, and inbreeding has diminished their numbers. The only thing interesting about this town are the 20 stones of Thrune. These stones are actually a ring of megaliths at the southern edge of town. The origin of the stones is unknown, and only the name Thrune has been associated with them. Dugans Hole is being terrorized by a pair of winter wolves, and it's said that the wolves can speak. We're talking about common here. The wolves recently took 2 teenagers from the town and are holding them for a ransom of food and gold. Now remember that 2 wolves are doing this. They have been awakened by a druid. We see druids doing this repeatedly through and around these towns. If the players go near the edge of town, the wolves appear. The wolves will come up with different stories and attempt to get the party to follow them back to the lodge where they live. The wolves claim to be owned and cruelly treated by a frost giant. They claim the giant has kidnapped 2 people from the village, and the wolves say they will help free the prisoners just to get back at the mean frost giant. Now, if the party follows the wolves to the frost giant lodge, they'll see a towering lodge built entirely of ice. The 2 teenagers can be found inside and are eager to escape. There isn't a frost giant here, but there is an awakened mammoth who did belong to the giant. The mammoth guards the giant's frozen corpse, and the mammoth hates all humanoids since they killed the giant, and the mammoth is always looking for revenge. Returning the hostages back to town will end the quest. So this covers the first 5 towns in the area. We'll cover the last 5 in our next video. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll try to get a new one out every day until I've covered the entire book. Thanks for watching, good luck, and good gaming.